My name's Alex Rutherford, and I thought in this next 5 or 10 minutes we'd be able to have a quick discussion on what I do here at Hogan Lovells, which is privacy and cybersecurity. But just before getting into some of the things that we do day to day, I thought I'd give you a bit of an overview on data protection in the world. Because in the last 5 or 10 years, data protection, sharing your data, security of the data has become really, really important in society. It's become one of the key pillars of how the legal and regulatory infrastructure happens across the world, and clients are really interested in how they can use data, how they can share data, how they can be lawful in doing so. And for individuals, it's often about their rights towards the data, how they can create trust with companies, and how the individuals and the companies can really come together to make sure there's a compatible data protection framework in place. And where we sit in as part of all of this is we are privacy and data protection and cybersecurity. So we're a dedicated team. We focus on cutting edge issues in this type of arena. We work across all sectors. So we've got clients from the tech titans of Silicon Valley. We've got clients in financial services. We've got medical clients. We've got recent clients with the automotive industry. So we work across all these different types of sectors, and we work internationally as well. Our clients are located all across the world. Our colleagues across Hogan Lovells are also all across the world. So a lot of what I do, a lot of what the team does is very much contains an international dimension and element for our work. So I think I'll go through just the first thing that we do day to day, our bread and butter, and that's working on strategic, cutting edge data protection advice. So let's say a client comes up and says, we want to implement a new wearable device. We want to have a new AI tool. We want to have a new medical platform, for example. They'll come to us and we'll say, okay, please send us your documents, your policies, your procedures. We'll then review these materials, identify some of the gaps perhaps, and then recommend how best to mitigate the risks we find and provide a roadmap to compliance with the GDPR. And that law, the GDPR, is really what underpins a large degree of our work, both from an EU perspective and a UK perspective. And we'll then prepare an assessment for the client, and then fundamentally we'll then provide some form of practical roadmap and say this is what you need to do, and we'll do it. So we'll update a policy, we'll mark up an agreement, we'll send them new policies in case they've got some gaps, for example, on the policies. So that's one big area of what we do. And where some clients might say that they've got a GDPR infrastructure in place, a compliance program, we will look at what type of gaps they've got. So they might say, here's a few specific questions, and we'll try and provide some strategic advice on their more specific questions. So that's one area, strategic advice. Second area is international data transfers. So the world as we know it, data is being transferred seamlessly across lots of different areas in the world, and there's laws in the GDPR and other restrictions worldwide on where you can transfer data. So a client may say, Hogan Lovells, we want to send data to the US and China and another 10 countries in Asia and South America, but we know there might be some conflicting laws. How do you advise that we do it in the most practical, in the most pragmatic, and the most effective way possible? So we'll prepare an assessment, and then we'll say, in this jurisdiction, you might need to have consent. In that jurisdiction, you've got to tell the regulator, and in this country, you've got to put in place a policy, for example, or put in place some form of mechanism or safeguard. So data transfer is a very hot topic. You may have seen, if you're following the data protection news out there, that just recently there's been a new adequacy decision by the European Commission to regulate transfers from the US and the EU and the UK. So very much a hot topic, and lots of enforcement action, really, that's in the millions and the billions on this type of issue. So that's data transfers. The third thing that we do, and a key area of our practice, is the cybersecurity element. So I've talked a bit more just in the last few moments about privacy, but cybersecurity has really exploded over the last 5 or 10 years. We're seeing clients frequently being subject to attacks by cyber criminals. They might come and steal our clients' data, or their customers or vendors' data. They might come and encrypt the servers. So imagine you're in a company and you've got this cyber criminal, and they say, we've encrypted your servers so you can't actually access all of your databases, all of your systems, all of your platforms. And then that will be accompanied with a ransom note, which will say, unless you pay us 50 million, 100 million, 10 million, depending on the circumstance, we will name and shame your company to the world, to the press worldwide, and we will actually release all of the data that we've got about all of your employees, your customers, your vendors, everyone that they have the data of. So we'll step in at a very, very challenging time for our clients here. Often it's the first time they've experienced quite a big breach. We'll step in and we'll say, this is when you need to tell the regulator, this is what we advise that you tell the governments, this is how you might want to manage a forensic investigation. We'll advise them on working with ransomware negotiators, so these companies that will help the client negotiate with these cyber criminals. We'll help them draft communications for their employees, for their customers, for their vendors, and basically we will really step into the picture and oversee all of the main issues, and I've given a few examples, that clients will experience during this very difficult time for them. And really it's a lot of crisis management is what underpins all of this type of work that we do on breaches. In addition to that, when companies haven't faced breaches, we might look at their cybersecurity policies. We might look at due diligence for them. So we also help on not just the breach side, but wider array of cybersecurity advice. So that's cybersecurity. And then the next two I can perhaps bring together, and that's transactional work and some litigation work. So in addition to the privacy information I've just mentioned, we'll look at agreements, so a data sharing agreement or a data processing agreement where you're sharing or transferring data with different customers, vendors, and we'll draft those. We will negotiate them with the other side, the counterparty, or with various different departments within the client. And we basically draft and negotiate these types of agreements, and at the same time we also help with our corporate team, for example, and many other teams on due diligence, on transactions where they want to buy companies, sell companies, enter into joint ventures with companies. We might look at their due diligence for that, or the transactional documents, the bigger documents, the SPA, share purchase agreement, the asset purchase agreement, and we'll try and draft those data protection specific provisions for those as well. So a lot of this work happens across lots of our different colleagues in Hogan Lovells and internationally. Litigation is, I can probably split it down to two things. One is helping our clients defend against regulatory investigations. So the governments or the regulators may fine our clients. They may say you need to stop processing this data. They may say you need to update your policies, and we'll enter into discussions with our client. We will help draft any responses to the regulator, and we might provide as well a more strategic element on how best to approach this, especially if the client is international and you've got lots of different regulators pursuing them or enforcing against them all across the world. So we help with that, and we help our litigation team when they've got specific protective orders or other types of document production, and we'll work out what do you redact, what information should you send, what are the other safeguards you've got to put in place. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview of what we do. And I think, the main takeaways for me are that the work we do is very cutting edge, it's very strategic. We're a dedicated team. We work with all of our colleagues across Hogan Lovells, almost every team I think I've worked with over the last years I've been here, and there's a huge international element and dimension to the work we do, and we work very collaboratively across the front. So hope that helps, and thanks very much.